Proteins are composed of 20 essential amino acids. The amino acids come together to form a polypeptide chain. And these amino acids are interacting with each other with something what we call as peptide bonds. And this peptide bond forms the polypeptide chain, which is also the protein backbone. This structure is called as the primary structure of the protein. When this primary structure coils itself, it forms into alpha helical structure, and the other one is beta sheet. So this is a secondary structure of the protein, which is the alpha helix as well as the beta sheet. These alpha helices and beta sheet are joined to each other by loops, and then they form the tertiary structure of the protein. And finally, this tertiary structure of the protein combines itself to form a quaternary structure. So there are basically four main structures of the protein. You have primary structure, secondary structure, tertiary structure, as well as quaternary structure. But what is the importance of the secondary structure of the protein? Protein structure plays a very key role in the function of the protein. So if the protein loses its structure, then it's actually also going to lose its function. The secondary structures, that is your alpha helices as well as the beta sheet, they provide this structure to the protein. And also, they provide an important function to the protein. Hi, my name is Sanket, and in this video, we are going to look at tools which help us to predict the secondary structure. So for prediction of the secondary structure of the tools, there are two important methods. You have ab initio based methods and you have homology based methods. Ab initio based method is you have a particular sequence and you do not have any reference for that sequence and you're predicting completely on its own. So that's called as an ab initio method. In homology based methods, you have a sequence and then you are predicting something based on some reference data set which is available. So that's a homology based method. Ab initio and homology is used in multiple contexts, like in secondary structure prediction in this case. It's also used in your tertiary structure prediction. There's something called as homology modeling, which uses the homology based method. You can check the video which I've made on homology modeling, where you can actually try to understand how tertiary structure of the proteins are developed. So in this three-part video, we are going to see how we can predict the secondary structure for a given sequence using Chow-Fasman method, using GAW tool, as well as JPRED tool. So let's begin by actually understanding how the Chow-Fasman actually works. So even before we start with Chow-Fasman, we need to have a sequence for it. So either you have an unknown sequence with you which you have developed in your lab, or if you have a sequence which is present in the NCBI, and for that sequence you want to identify which are the secondary structures that you can do. In this case, we will look, for example, a protein sequence of, let's say, P53 gene. Okay, so this is the NCBI, and this is the entire GenBank format. And here you can see the FASTA sequence. All right, so I click on FASTA. So this is my FASTA sequence, or my sequence for which I'm going to predict my secondary structure. Now let's open another tab and let's look at the Chow-Fasman tool here. So I'm going to type in Google something called as Chow-Fasman. So these are both the name of the scientists. So you can click on the first hit. All right. So what I do is I copy the sequence here and then I paste it. So it can be a FASTA sequence as what is given by them. So I incorporate the sequence and then I click on predict. So now what it's going to predict for us is going to predict how much regions are helical region, how many regions are beta sheet, okay, And also it's going to predict how many regions here are something what we call as turns. One interesting thing is it also helps us to predict how many coils are there in this. So this is your target sequence. This is the graphical representation of your target sequence. Okay, so where it can you will know where exactly are the helical regions. So the red ones are the helical parts, the green one are the beta sheets, the blue ones are the beta turns, and the yellow ones are the coils. This gives you another perspective to it. So this is your sequence here. So how many regions are helixes, how many regions are coils, which is C. Okay, how many regions are turns. All right, so you can see these all part, the one which is marked as H are nothing but the helical regions, and the one which is marked as E are nothing but your beta sheets. So it gives you an overall, it tells you about which amino acid is predicted as helix or coils or turns. So if you look at the total residues, there are so that of all the residues, 214 residues it predicted as helix. As beta sheets is predicted as 176, and as turns there were 33. So it helpful. So Chow Fasman actually helps us to predict how many HEs and Ts, HE and T are there. So if you see the maximum percentage are helicals, are alpha helices basically in this P53 region. Now, the reason why how this information is useful is so if there's a pocket region, so if you can see the if you know what the pocket region is, you know the sequence for the pocket region. You will know, is it a alpha helical structure, or is it a beta sheet structure, or is it mostly composed of turns, okay, or even coils. Now, based on this, the stability of the protein can be predicted. Okay, so if there are more number of turns and more number of coils, then the protein is bit unstable. Okay, but if you have a large number of helices and beta sheets, then as I said, it contributes to the structure, and that's how the sturdiness actually also is. Your Chow Fasman here helps us to predict whether what are the helical regions, what are the turns, and what are the beta sheets which is present for a particular sequence. It still did not give us a much information about the entire uh, protein sequence, and that's the reason another protein tool called as GOR was introduced. So let's check out how GOR actually works.